Tom Brennan, 38 rancher. His goal was to build a secret underground water system to save his family from drought. Tom's pride makes him secretive and stubborn. He refuses to explain himself or ask for help, which turns the whole town against him. The river is drying up. The town mocks Tom for wasting time and money on his strange digging project instead of moving his cattle like everyone else. Before we continue, if you are seeing my channel for the first time, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Comment where you are watching from. Let's start the story. The tin cup was empty. Tom Brennan pressed it against his son's cracked lips anyway. Maybe if he tilted it just right, maybe if he whispered the right prayer, water would appear, but the cup stayed dry. And the same cup Jacob had carried to the river every morning for 8 years. Now the river was gone. Papa. Jacob's voice came out like wind through dead grass. Papa, I'm so thirsty. Tom's hands shook. His boy was 7 years old. 7. And dying in his arms because Tom had been too proud to leave when the drought started. Too sure he could outlast it. Too stubborn to admit he was wrong. The Colorado sun hammered down on their ranch house porch. Tom could taste dust in his teeth, smell the hot wood, feel sweat running down his back even though he hadn't drunk water in 2 days. He'd given his share to Jacob, but it wasn't enough. Nothing was enough when the land itself turned enemy. If this story hooks you, hit that like button right now. And stay until the end, because what happens next will change everything. "And we're leaving," Tom's wife Sarah said behind him. Her voice was flat, final. "Tonight, we take Jacob to Denver. There's still water in the city. We can't afford—" "I don't care what we can afford." Sarah grabbed the empty tin cup from Tom's hand. Her fingers were bone-thin. She'd been giving her water to Jacob, too. "Our son is dying. Look at him, Thomas. Actually, look." Tom looked. Jacob's lips were white. His eyes were sunken. His small chest moved too fast, like a bird trapped in a barn. This was Tom's fault. He'd been so certain the drought would break, so sure that staying made him strong. But strength meant nothing when your child couldn't open his eyes. "I'll hitch the wagon," Tom said. They left that night, packed what they could carry, left the cattle to die, left the ranch that had been in Tom's family for 2 generations. And as they rolled away in the dark, Tom looked back one last time. The land was broken. The river was a crack of dry mud. The grass was yellow death. But under the ground, Tom knew something nobody else knew. His father had told him years ago. Shown him, made him swear to keep the secret. Under the ranch, deep under the hills, there was water, a whole river of it, flowing through rock where nobody could see. Ancient water that had been there before any white man came west. Water that wasn't theirs to take, but maybe it could be. Tom made a choice in that wagon, with Jacob's shallow breathing in his ear and Sarah's silent anger beside him. If they survived this drought, if Jacob lived, Tom would come back, and he would dig until he found that underground river. No matter what it cost, Jacob lived, barely. And they made it to Denver with $15 and a dying horse, found a charity hospital, waited 3 days while Jacob floated between life and death. Sarah prayed. Tom didn't. He planned. When Jacob finally opened his eyes and asked for water, sweet city water from a real well, Tom filled that tin cup and held it steady, watched his son drink, made a promise to himself that Jacob would never be that thirsty again. Never. Drop a comment below and tell me what would you do to save your family, because Tom's about to do something that will make the whole town hate him. They stayed in Denver for 3 months. Tom worked loading wagons. Sarah took in washing. They saved every penny, listened to news from back home. The drought lasted another month, then broke with storms that turned the valley into mud. The river came back. People returned to their ranches, started rebuilding. and Tom planned. He drew maps on scraps of paper, remembered everything his father had shown him. The old man had found the underground river by accident 20 years back when digging a well. Hit something that scared him, sealed it back up, said there were things down there that white men shouldn't touch. Sacred things, dangerous things. But Tom didn't care about sacred anymore, he cared about survival. They returned to the ranch in late summer. The land looked different, greener but scarred. Their house still stood. The barn had collapsed. Dead cattle bones littered the fields like scattered dice. Their neighbors, the few who'd survived, looked at Tom like he'd come back from the grave. Nobody mentioned the families who hadn't made it back, the empty ranches, and the graves by the church. Tom mentioned them every time he looked at Jacob, every time he held that tin cup. He started digging the next week, not where anyone could see, not near the house or the barn or the river. Tom chose a spot in the low hills behind the ranch where scrub oak and sage hid the ground. He told Sarah he was building a root cellar. She didn't believe him. She didn't ask questions either. Something had broken between them during the drought. Some trust that wouldn't heal with rain. Tom dug alone, every morning before dawn, every evening after ranch work. His hands bled, his back screamed. He used a pickaxe his father had left behind, old iron heavy made to break rock. The sound echoed through the hills. Neighbors heard it and wondered, what's Tom Brennan doing up there? He hit the underground river after 6 weeks. He knew it the moment his pickaxe broke through. Cold air rushed up from the dark, air that smelled like stone and time and secrets that should stay buried. Tom lowered himself down with a rope. The cavern below was huge, bigger than his barn. Water ran through it in the darkness, moving fast, heading somewhere Tom couldn't see. He dropped a stone and heard it splash far below. His father had been right to be scared. This wasn't just water. This was something old. But Tom's pride was older than fear. He spent the next 2 years building, not just a well, not just a cistern. Tom built an entire system, pipes made from hollowed logs, underground channels carved through rock, a pump house disguised as a storage shed, reservoirs hidden in 3 different locations. He taught himself engineering from books he bought in Denver, traded cattle and horses for materials, spent money they didn't have on lumber and iron and copper fittings. Sarah watched it all happen and said nothing. Jacob, now 9 years old, helped sometimes, asked questions Tom wouldn't answer. Why are we doing this, Papa? The river's back. Rivers lie, son. They come and go. We're building something that stays. But it's so much work. Nobody else is... I don't care what nobody else is doing. Tom's voice came out harder than he meant. This is about us, about keeping you safe. The boy went quiet. Tom saw it happen, saw Jacob stop asking, stop trusting, start looking at his father like he was a stranger. That hurt worse than bleeding hands. But Tom kept digging anyway, because love sometimes looks like things people can't understand. The town noticed. Of course they noticed. And Tom was acting strange, disappearing into the hills, spending money on pipes and pumps when he should be buying better cattle. His ranch was struggling while he played in the dirt like a child. People talked, started with whispers at the general store, grew to open questions at church. Tom's lost his mind, they said. The drought broke him, wasting good money on nonsense while his family goes without. Sarah deserves better than a husband who's chasing ghosts. Tom heard it all, ignored it all. His pride wouldn't let him explain, wouldn't let him show them what he'd found. Why should he? They'd laughed when he stayed during the drought, laughed when he came back. They didn't deserve to know his secrets. Besides, the water under his land might not be legal, might violate treaties. He might bring government men asking questions Tom couldn't answer. Better to keep quiet, build in secret, trust nobody. That was Tom's fatal flaw. The thing that made everything harder. He could have had help, could have had support, could have told Sarah the truth. But pride made him silent, and silence made him alone. The one person who seemed to understand was Samuel Wade, the town banker, a smooth-talking man from St. Louis with soft hands and sharp eyes. He started visiting the ranch, friendly visits, neighborly, brought candy for Jacob, asked Tom about his project with interest instead of mockery. "You're a visionary, Tom," Samuel would say. "These simple folk don't understand men who think ahead." It felt good to hear. Felt like someone finally saw what Tom was doing. Tom was too proud to see what Samuel was really doing. Watching, waiting, calculating, making friends with Jacob when Tom was too busy to notice. Learning things a banker shouldn't know about water and land and underground rivers. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, because this town is about to learn a hard lesson about mocking the wrong man. 2 years after Tom started building, the rain stopped again. Not suddenly, not like before. This drought came slow, sneaky, the kind that lets you hope until hope is dangerous. Spring was dry, summer was drier. By August, the river was shrinking. By September, it was a creek. By October, it was mud and stones. The town panicked, started rationing water from wells. Some families left early this time, remembered the last drought, didn't want to risk it. Others stayed but made plans, bought wagons, saved money, kept their eyes on the sky. And Tom stayed calm, kept working his ranch, kept the pump house locked, kept his secret, because under his land the water still flowed, cold and endless. Enough for 100 families, enough to outlast any drought God could throw at them. But Tom wasn't ready to share, not yet. The system needed one more piece, one final connection, and Tom needed to decide something that kept him awake at night. Did he save just his family, or did he save the town that had mocked him? Pride said, "Let them suffer. Let them see what happens when they doubt Tom Brennan." Love said, "They're your neighbors. Children are thirsty. Do what's right." Tom couldn't decide, so he kept building, kept testing his pipes, kept watching the sky and listening to the town panic and holding his tin cup and remembering Jacob's cracked lips and Sarah's accusing eyes. And the knock on his door came on a cold November morning. Tom was fixing a fence. Sarah was hanging laundry. Jacob was at school in town. Sheriff Coleman stood on the porch. He looked uncomfortable. Behind him stood 5 men from town, ranchers, merchants, men Tom had known for years, and Samuel Wade, smiling that soft smile. "Tom," the sheriff said, "we need to talk about your water situation." Tom's stomach went cold. "What water situation?" "Don't play games. Half the town knows you've been building something. Wade here says—" The sheriff glanced at Samuel. "Says his son heard from your Jacob that you've got access to water, lots of it. Water you're hiding while the rest of us dry up." Tom looked at Samuel Wade, really looked, saw the calculation in those soft eyes, the ambition. The man had used Jacob, had made friends with a lonely boy just to steal information. Had turned the town against Tom to what? Force him to reveal the water, claim some legal right to it? Tom's pride flared hot, anger so strong he tasted copper. "Get off my land," Tom said. "Now, Tom, get off my land." Tom's hand moved toward the rifle on the porch, not threatening, just ready. "I don't owe you people anything. You want water? Look to heaven, that's where it comes from." "You'd let children die?" Samuel Wade's voice was shocked, performative, loud enough for the other men to hear. "You'd hoard water while families suffer? I'd keep what's mine, same as any man." The sheriff stepped forward. "Sorry, Tom, if you've got water, we can work something out. Payments, a fair system, but we need to know—" "You need to leave." Tom picked up his rifle, didn't point it, just held it. "Before I make you." The men left, but Tom saw it in their faces, saw the shift. He wasn't just odd Tom Brennan anymore, wasn't just the proud fool who wasted money on pipe dreams. Now he was the enemy, the man who'd hoard water while children died. That night, someone tried to burn Tom's pump house down. Failed, because Tom was sleeping inside it, protecting his secret. The fire scarred the door, but nothing else. The message was clear. Share the water or suffer. Tom made his choice. He barricaded the pump house, moved his most important tools inside. Started sleeping there with his rifle. Told Sarah and Jacob to stay in the main house. Told them he'd handle this. Sarah just looked at him, tired, defeated. You're choosing water over us. I'm choosing to protect us. By making everyone hate us, by turning our son into... She stopped, shook her head. Jacob came home crying today. Other boys won't play with him. Say his father's a water thief, a hoarder. That we're evil. Tom felt something crack inside, but pride sealed it shut. They'll understand when the drought gets worse. They'll see I was right. Right and alone are the same thing to you, aren't they? Sarah's voice was quiet, final. I'm taking Jacob to my sister's in Denver next week. When you're ready to be a husband and father instead of a miser, come find us. She walked away. Tom watched her go, wanted to call out, wanted to explain everything, the secret spring, the sacred water, and the impossible choice between sharing something that might not be his to share and watching people die. But pride kept his mouth shut. Jacob appeared in the doorway, holding his tin cup, the same cup from 4 years ago, dented now, scratched, but still theirs. Papa? The boy's voice was small. Are you really going to let people die? Tom looked at his son, saw the doubt, the fear, the beginning of shame. No, son, I'm going to save them, all of them, but on my terms, when I'm ready. When will you be ready? Tom didn't have an answer. Jacob set the tin cup on the porch rail and went back inside. Tom stared at it, that empty cup, symbol of everything he'd survived and everything he might lose. He'd filled it once, saved his son. Could he fill it again for strangers, for people who'd mocked him, or for people who'd sent Samuel Wade to spy and steal and turn his own child into an informant? The answer should have been easy, but pride made it complicated, and complexity, Tom was learning, had a cost. The drought deepened. November became December. The river died completely, wells started failing, the town held meetings, drew up rationing plans, started preparing to evacuate. Just like last time. And Tom sat in his pump house listening to water flow beneath his feet, holding an empty tin cup and trying to decide if mercy was strength or weakness. The answer came 3 days before Christmas. Came in the form of screaming from town. Came in the form of Jacob running across the frozen field, tears on his face, shouting words that made Tom's blood stop. Papa, Papa, mister! Wade's little girl, she collapsed. She won't wake up. They need water. Papa, please. Tom stood frozen. Samuel Wade's daughter, the man who'd used his son, who'd tried to steal his secret, whose greed had turned the town against him. That man's child was dying of thirst, and Tom held the only water. The choice he makes next will haunt him for the rest of his life. Tom ran, not toward town, toward the pump house. Jacob ran beside him, crying, begging. The frozen ground hurt Tom's feet through worn boots. His breath came out in clouds. The December cold bit his face, but he barely felt it. Inside the pump house, Tom grabbed 2 buckets, filled them from the hidden reservoir. The water was so cold it burned his hands. Clean water, secret water, water he'd sworn to protect. Papa, hurry! Jacob's voice cracked. Tom grabbed the tin cup too. I don't know why. Just did. Shoved it in his belt and ran back out with the buckets. Water sloshed over the sides, precious water hitting frozen dirt. Wasted. But there was more. So much more. They ran to town. Tom's arms screamed from the weight. The buckets were heavy. Water is heavy when you're carrying someone's life. The Wade house was chaos. People crowded the porch, women crying, men standing helpless. Tom pushed through, climbed the stairs, found Samuel Wade kneeling beside a small bed. The girl, Emma, her name was Emma, lay still as death. 6 years old, blonde hair stuck to her forehead with sweat even though the room was freezing. Her lips were cracked and bleeding, eyes sunken. Breathing so shallow Tom almost couldn't see it, just like Jacob, 4 years ago. Same dying face. "Out of my way!" Tom's voice cut through the noise. Samuel Wade looked up. His face was destroyed. All that smooth calculation gone. Just a father watching his daughter die. You brought... Shut up and help me sit her up." They lifted Emma, careful, gentle. Tom brought the tin cup to her lips, tilted it, let water touch her mouth, dripped it slowly. 1 drop, 2 drops, 3. Emma's throat moved, swallowed. More water. Slow, patient. Tom had learned this with Jacob. You can't rush water into a body that's forgotten how to drink. "Come on, little one," Tom whispered. "Come on back." The room was silent, everyone watching. Tom felt their eyes but didn't care, just focused on the cup, the water, the girl's throat. Swallow, breathe. Swallow, breathe. Emma's eyes opened, not all the way, just a flutter, but alive, aware. She looked at Tom like he was an angel, or maybe a monster. Hard to tell the difference when you're 6 and dying. If you're still watching, leave a comment right now. Tell me what you think happens next. Because this town is about to explode. "More," Emma whispered. Tom gave her more, cup after cup, until she drunk a full bucket, until color came back to her face, until she could sit up on her own and ask for her mama. Mrs. Wade was crying, holding her daughter, thanking God and Tom in the same breath. Other women crowded around, relieved, grateful. But the men looked different. They looked at Tom's buckets, at the water still sloshing inside, at the wet spots on the floor, calculating, wondering. "Where did this come from?" Sheriff Coleman asked. Tom stood, his knees popped, his back hurt. He was 38 but felt twice that. My land. You've had water this whole time." A rancher named Peterson stepped forward, angry, red-faced. "While we've been rationing, while children have been crying themselves to sleep thirsty, I've had a system, yeah. And you kept it secret? It's my water, my land, my work." Tom felt his pride rising again. Couldn't help it. Even now, even saving a life. Pride was his reflex. "I built something you all laughed at, called me crazy, called me a fool. Well, who's the fool now?" Wrong thing to say. Knew it the moment it left his mouth, but too late. The words were out. "You selfish." Peterson lunged. The sheriff caught him, barely. "Everyone calm down. Tom, you did good here. You saved Emma. We're grateful, but we need to talk about..." "Nothing to talk about." Tom picked up his buckets. "I saved the girl. That's what you wanted. And now I'm going home. Tom, you want water? Come to my ranch tomorrow, noon. We'll discuss terms." He walked out. Jacob followed, silent. The crowd parted like Tom had plague. He felt their stares, heard the whispers starting already. Ungrateful, greedy, hoarder, savior who wants to be king. Tom's hands shook around the bucket handles. He'd done the right thing. Saved Emma Wade. So why did it feel so wrong? Because pride had poisoned it, turned mercy into leverage, turned a gift into a negotiation. Tom knew it, hated it, couldn't stop it. That night, Tom couldn't sleep. Lay in the pump house with his rifle across his chest and listened to water flow beneath the earth. Thought about Emma's face, about Samuel Wade's destroyed expression, about all the other children in town who'd be Emma soon if this drought didn't break. And he thought about his own fatal flaw. This pride that made him want to save people and punish them. Want to be the hero and make them beg. Sarah would have words for this, if she was still talking to him. She and Jacob had moved into the main house bedroom, locked the door. Tom slept in the pump house now, alone with his secret and his choices. Morning came cold and bright. Tom prepared. Not just the water system, he'd been ready for weeks. He prepared himself, tried to. Practiced words, practiced generosity, practiced being the man Sarah married instead of the proud fool he'd become. By 11 o'clock, wagons started arriving, families. Every ranch within 20 miles, the whole town. They came with barrels and buckets and hope and anger and desperation and shame. Tom stood by the pump house, waiting. Jacob stood beside him, and the boy had insisted, "If you're doing this, Papa, I want to see it." Sarah stood on the house porch, arms crossed, watching, silent judgment. Noon arrived. The crowd was huge, maybe 200 people. More than Tom expected, more than his water could save if this drought lasted years instead of months. Sheriff Coleman stepped forward. "Tom, on behalf of the town, we're here to talk." No talking needed. Tom opened the pump house door, let them see inside. The pipes, the reservoir, the engineering, the proof that Tom Brennan wasn't crazy, just smarter than all of them. There. Pride again. Couldn't help it. Gasps rippled through the crowd, some impressed, some angry, some just confused. "I built this over 2 years," Tom said. "Nobody helped. Nobody believed. You all laughed. But I knew. I knew drought would come back. I knew the river would fail. I knew we needed something permanent." "Where does the water come from?" someone shouted. Tom hesitated. The truth was complicated, dangerous, might bring government men, might bring tribal leaders, might bring questions he couldn't answer about ancient sacred springs and treaties and rights. "Underground source," he said. "Natural spring. Been there for centuries." "On your land?" "Under it, yes." "Is it legal?" There it was, the question Tom dreaded. "It's water," Tom said. "Nobody owns underground rivers, they just flow." "That's not an answer," Samuel Wade's voice cut through. Cold now, calculating. The grieving father from yesterday was gone, the banker was back. "There are laws about water rights, Tom, about shared resources, about—" "My daughter is alive because of him," Mrs. Wade interrupted. She pushed through the crowd. Emma was with her, holding her hand, still weak but walking. "Whatever else he is, he's the reason my baby can stand here. Don't forget that." Silence. Uncomfortable, grateful and angry tangled together. Hit that like button if you think Tom deserves credit for what he built. Then keep watching, because everything's about to fall apart. "I'll share the water," Tom said. Forced the words out. Tasted pride fighting them every inch. "Everyone here can take what they need, for their families, for their animals, for free." Shocked silence. "For free?" Peterson looked suspicious. "What's the catch?" "No catch. We're neighbors, Christians, supposed to help each other, right?" Tom looked at the crowd, saw doubt. After everything, they doubted his generosity. Maybe they were right to. "Come tomorrow. And bring your containers. Take what you need. All I ask is you form a line. Don't waste it. Don't take more than you can use in a week." "A week?" Someone laughed, bitter. "This drought could last months, years." "Then come back every week. I've got enough." "How much is enough?" Tom didn't answer, because he didn't know. The underground river seemed endless. But seemed wasn't certain, and if he promised too much and the water failed. "We need proof," Samuel Wade said. He was smiling, that smooth banker smile. "We need to see the source, verify it's sustainable, make sure this isn't—" "Isn't what?" Tom's voice went hard. "A trick, a con, A way to make yourself indispensable so you can control the town. Samuel's voice was smooth poison. You're asking us to depend on you completely, trust you entirely. What happens if you change your mind? Ooh, what happens if you decide to charge later? What happens if... Shut your mouth. Tom stepped forward, fists clenched. I saved your daughter yesterday, and you're accusing me of... I'm grateful for Emma, truly, but gratitude doesn't mean blind trust. Samuel looked at the crowd, playing to them. This man kept secret water while children suffered. Who's to say he won't do it again? We need guarantees, contracts, legal access, not charity that can be revoked on a whim. The crowd muttered. Some agreed. Some defended Tom. The unity fractured into arguments. Voices rising, accusations flying. Tom watched it happen. Watched Samuel Wade work the crowd like a puppeteer. Realized this was the plan all along. Not to steal the water, to control it. To make Tom reveal it, then use legal tricks and community pressure to force shared ownership. Either to diminish Tom's power and increase Samuel's. The banker had used Emma's near death, used the crowd's desperation, used Tom's own pride against him. You want proof? Tom shouted over the noise. Fine, I'll show you, but just a few. Sheriff Samuel, Peterson, you three, come with me. See the source, verify it's real, then tell everyone I'm not lying. The sheriff nodded. Peterson agreed. Samuel smiled. They followed Tom into the hills, brought lanterns. Tom led them to the hidden entrance. A crack in the hillside disguised with brush, barely wide enough for a man. Through here, Tom said. You expect us to crawl into a cave? Samuel laughed. That's your proof? The source is underground. Yeah, you wanted to see it. This is how. The sheriff went first. Brave man. Then Peterson. Samuel went last, complaining about his clothes. Tom brought up the rear with a lantern. The tunnel Tom had carved was narrow, rough. Smelled like wet stone and earth and something else. Something older. They crawled for 50 feet. Then the tunnel opened. Into the cavern, the underground cathedral. The place Tom's father had found and sealed and made Tom promise never to touch. Tom had broken that promise. Drilled through the seal, built pipes and pumps and channels. Taken what wasn't his to take. But seeing it now, with witnesses, Tom felt something he'd been ignoring for 2 years. Fear. The water ran through the cavern in a wide stream. Black water under lantern light, moving fast. Cold air rose from it that made their breath fog. But it wasn't just water. The walls. Tom hadn't noticed this before, too focused on engineering. The walls had marks, carvings, old carvings. These symbols Tom didn't recognize. What is this place? Peterson whispered. Underground river, Tom said, but his voice shook. These carvings... The sheriff touched the wall. Tom, these look like... Don't know what they are, don't care, water's water. But that was a lie. Tom knew. His father had told him. This place was sacred, before white men came, before ranches and towns and droughts. The tribes had known about this water, used it for ceremonies, considered it holy, and Tom had drilled into it like it was just another well. There's enough water here for 100 years, Samuel Wade said. But he wasn't looking at the water. He was looking at Tom, calculating. Maybe more. This isn't just a spring, this is... It's mine, Tom said, defensive, scared now. My land, my discovery. Is it, though? Samuel smiled. Yeah, because I've been doing research, Tom, at the land office. And this area, these hills specifically, they're disputed territory. Old treaty boundaries, the Ute tribe has claims, and if this is sacred land, it's my deed, my ranch. Legal and clear. Surface rights, yes, but mineral rights, water rights, especially for sacred water? Samuel's smile grew. That's murkier. I think we need to bring in a territorial judge, sort this out properly, legally. Tom felt the trap closing, Samuel had planned this, all of it. Get Tom to reveal the water, get witnesses to see it, then use legal technicalities to claim it wasn't Tom's to share. Force a court case, drag it out. Meanwhile, Samuel, a banker with money and lawyers, could position himself to buy the land or claim the water rights or... "We're leaving," Tom said, "but we just... out. Now." They climbed back through the tunnel. Tom's heart hammered, his hands shook, everything he'd built, everything he'd sacrificed. Samuel Wade was trying to steal it with laws and papers and words. When they emerged into sunlight, Tom turned to face them. "You saw it. Real water, enough for everyone. That's what you wanted to verify. We're done." "Tom, we should discuss." "Discussion's over. Water sharing starts tomorrow. Anyone who wants it, come get it. Free. Like I said." Tom looked at Samuel. "But if you try any legal games, Wade, if you bring lawyers or judges or any of that, I'll seal it up. Flood the tunnel. Destroy the whole system. Nobody gets water, understand?" It was a bluff, probably. Tom wasn't sure he could actually destroy something he'd worked 2 years to build, but he needed Samuel to believe it. Samuel's smile didn't waver. "No need for threats. We're all on the same side here." Liar. Tom saw it in his eyes. This was war now. Quiet war. Legal war. The kind fought with paperwork instead of guns. Share this story if you've ever had someone try to steal what you built. Because the real fight is just beginning. They walked back to the ranch. The crowd was still waiting. Tom told them the water was real. Told them to come tomorrow. Told them it was free. Most people were grateful. Said thank you. Said God bless. Said Tom was a good man even if he was proud and secretive. But some looked at him different now. Like he was sitting on wealth he didn't deserve. Like the water should belong to everyone, not just Tom Brennan who happened to own the land above it. Samuel Wade spread poison as he left. Tom heard him talking to people, in quiet words, lawyer words. "We should make sure it's legal before we become dependent on it. What if the tribes object? What if the government claims it? Better to establish clear ownership now." Planting doubt, planting fear, making people think Tom's generosity might be a trap. By evening, the crowd was gone. Just Tom and Jacob and Sarah remained. Sarah finally spoke, first time in days. "You did the right thing, sharing." "Don't feel right," Tom said. "Because you wanted them to beg more, to suffer more, to appreciate you more?" Sarah's voice was tired, sad. "Tom, you saved a child's life yesterday. You're saving the whole town today. Why can't that be enough?" "Because Wade's going to take it, going to use laws and courts and..." "Then let him. If the water isn't legally yours, it isn't legally yours. Maybe it shouldn't be. It may be water that old, that sacred. Maybe it belongs to everyone, or to the people who knew about it first." Tom stared at his wife. "You think I stole it? I think you found something that wasn't lost, something that was hidden on purpose, and I think your pride won't let you see the difference." She went inside, left Tom standing in the cold with Jacob. "Papa?" Jacob's voice was small. "The boys at school say we're thieves now. Say we stole Indian water. Say the spirits will curse us." "Spirits aren't real, son." "Then why did you look so scared in the cave when you saw those carvings?" Smart boy. Too smart. Tom knelt down, looked Jacob in the eyes. "Sometimes grown men do things they're not sure are right because they think it's necessary. Because they're scared of losing what they love. You understand? You were scared I'd die again. Like before. Yeah. But I didn't. The drought broke, we survived. This time. But droughts come back, they always come back. So do rains, Papa, they always come back too. Simple truth from a 9-year-old. Truth that cut through Tom's pride and fear and reached something deeper. Maybe Tom had been wrong. Maybe building this system wasn't about survival. Maybe it was about control, about never feeling helpless again, about pride disguised as protection. That night, Tom sat in the pump house and thought about his father's warning, about sacred water, about the carvings, about Samuel Wade's legal threats, about the town's mixture of gratitude and suspicion, and about the tin cup sitting on the shelf, empty again, waiting. What was the right thing? Share the water and risk losing it to lawyers, seal it up and let people suffer? If he fight in court and drain his money and time, trust that rain would come eventually, like Jacob said? Tom didn't know anymore. The answer came at dawn, but not the answer Tom expected. A rider arrived, Ute tribal elder named Broken Wing, old man, dignified. He rode right to the pump house like he knew exactly where to go. "Thomas Brennan," he said. Perfect English. "We need to talk about the water you've been taking from the sacred spring." Tom's blood went cold. "How did you... You think we don't notice? Don't watch. That spring has been ours for 500 years. We let it rest when the white men came, sealed it, made peace. But we always knew where it was." Broken Wing climbed down from his horse. Slow, careful. "Your father knew too. He promised us he'd leave it sealed. My son almost died. Many sons die. Mine did. On in the winter of 1858 when soldiers burned our food stores." Broken Wing's voice was hard. Old pain. "We didn't steal what wasn't ours to take. We endured. We survived." Tom felt shame then. Real shame. The kind that cuts through pride like a knife through cloth. "I can seal it back," Tom said quietly. "Flood the tunnels, return it to you." "Too late, the seal is broken, the water flows, the sacred has been made common." Broken Wing looked toward town. "But maybe that's not all bad. Maybe the spirits want the water shared now. Maybe they sent this drought to teach both our people something. What do you want from me?" "Honesty, respect, and a portion of the water for my people. We're suffering too. The reservation wells are dry. Our children thirst same as yours." Tom nodded. "Of course, yeah, as much as you need. No payment, no strings, no contracts, just neighbors sharing what the earth provides." "Agreed," Broken Wing smiled, sad smile. "The white banker won't like this. He's been asking questions, researching treaties, trying to find ways to claim the water legally. But if we have agreement, my people and yours, his lawyers mean nothing. The water stays shared, free, as it should be." Tom felt something loosen in his chest. Relief. Hope. Maybe a way forward that didn't end in courts and conflict. But Broken Wing's next words killed that hope. "There's a price, though, for breaking the seal, for taking sacred water without permission. The spirits demand it." "What price?" "Not sure yet, but it will come. It always does. Water this old, it has memory, it has power. It knows when it's been wronged." Broken Wing mounted his horse. "Share the water, Thomas Brennan, save your people and mine. But remember, every gift from the earth has a cost, and you've just made a deal you don't fully understand." He rode away. Left Tom standing in the dawn light with those words echoing. Every gift has a cost. Tom looked at his pump house, his engineering marvel, his secret pride, his salvation and maybe his curse. What had he really done? What price would come due? And would his pride let him pay it when the time came? The water sharing lasted 3 weeks before the first crack appeared. Not in the pipes, not in the system, in the people. Tom's ranch became the center of everything. Every morning at dawn, wagons lined up, families with barrels, ranchers with cattle. The Ute people came too, like Broken Wing promised. Everyone taking what they needed, grateful at first, patient. But gratitude turns sour when it lasts too long. By week 2, people stopped saying thank you, just filled their containers and left. By week 3, they were complaining. The line was too slow. Tom should build more pumps, should hire help, should organize better. Tom gritted his teeth and worked. 18-hour days, managing the flow, preventing fights, making sure everyone got fair shares. His hands bled from working the pump. His back screamed. But he kept going because this was his choice, his burden. His pride wouldn't let him ask for help even though he was drowning in it. Jacob helped when he could, after school. The boy worked the pump while Tom managed the crowd. They didn't talk much. Something was still broken between them. Some distance that water couldn't fix. Sarah watched from the house. She'd stopped criticizing, stopped advising. Just watched her husband work himself to death for people who barely noticed. If this story is hitting you, drop a comment. Tell me about a time you gave everything and people still wanted more. Samuel Wade came every 3 days, always at noon, always with questions disguised as friendly concern. Tom, you look exhausted. You should let me hire some men to help. I'll pay. Don't need help. At least let me install a better pump, more efficient. My bank could fund it as community investment. My pump works fine. What about when you're sick or injured? The whole town depends on you now. We need backup systems, contingency plans. That was the hook, the angle Samuel worked. Make Tom indispensable, then make his indispensability a problem. You make people afraid of depending on one proud man who might fail or change his mind. Plant the idea that the water should be managed by committee, by bank trustees, by anyone except Tom Brennan. Tom saw it happening but couldn't stop it, because Samuel was right about one thing. The town did depend on Tom now, completely. And Tom's pride wouldn't let him share that responsibility even though the weight was crushing him. The second crack appeared on a Saturday. A rancher named Hoffman brought cattle. 50 head, more than his fair share of water. When Tom said no, Hoffman got angry. My cattle are dying. You expect me to watch them suffer? Come back Monday, that's your scheduled day. To hell with schedules. There's water right there, flowing. More than enough. Rules are rules. Either everyone follows them or nobody does. Hoffman spit in the dirt. You're loving this, aren't you? Playing king, deciding who gets water and when. Power's gone to your head, Brennan. Tom's fists clenched. His pride flared hot. Get off my land. Or what? You'll cut me off, prove my point? Hoffman laughed, bitter, mean. You're not a savior. You're a tyrant with a pump. Other people in line murmured. Some agreed. Some defended Tom. But the seed was planted. The idea that Tom wasn't generous, he was controlling, that free water with rules wasn't really free. That night, someone broke into the pump house, tried to damage the system, failed because Tom had locks and guards now. 2 Ute men Broken Wing had sent. They caught the saboteur. It was Hoffman's son, 16 years old, angry and stupid and desperate. Tom let him go with a warning, but the message was clear. The peace was fracturing. Gratitude was dying. Fear and resentment were growing. This is getting dangerous, Sarah said that night. First time she'd come to the pump house in weeks. Tom, you need to... Need to what? Stop? Let them fight over the water themselves? Let Samuel Wade steal it legally? You need to stop seeing everything as a fight you have to win alone. I'm not... You are. You always have been. Even when we were courting, you had to prove you were the strongest, the smartest, the most capable. You couldn't just be enough. You had to be more. Better. Alone at the top. Sarah's voice cracked. But Tom, that's not strength. That's loneliness. And it's killing you. Tom wanted to argue, wanted to defend himself, but he was so tired, bone tired, soul tired, and the kind of tired sleep can't fix. I don't know how to be any other way, he admitted. Then learn before you lose everything that matters. She left. Tom sat in the dark pump house and listened to water flow. Thought about Sarah's words, about his father's warnings, about Broken Wing's prophecy of a price to pay. What was the cost going to be? When would it come due? The answer arrived Monday morning in the form of government men, 3 of them, territorial officials. They rode up with papers and authority, and Samuel Wade smiling behind them like a cat with cream. Thomas Brennan, the lead official, was tall, gray beard, cold eyes. I'm Inspector Morrison, Bureau of Land Management. We're here about illegal water extraction from protected sources. Tom's stomach dropped. Either protected sources? The underground spring you've been accessing falls under the Treaty of 1863. Sacred Sites Protection Clause. You've been illegally drilling into tribal land. Morrison held up papers, legal papers, dense with words Tom couldn't parse fast enough. Mr. Wade brought this to our attention, filed a formal complaint. We're here to investigate and potentially shut down your operation. Tom looked at Samuel Wade, saw the triumph there, the careful planning. This was the real attack, not stealing the water, destroying Tom's access to it. Shutting him down on legal grounds, leaving the town desperate again. Then Samuel swoops in with a proper solution that puts him in control. The tribal elder gave me permission, Tom said. Broken Wing, and we have an agreement. Verbal agreements don't supersede federal treaty law. We'll need to verify with the tribal council, interview witnesses, inspect the site. Until then, Morrison pulled out a closure notice. This operation is suspended. No water distribution until the investigation concludes. That could take months. That's not my concern. People will die. That's why you should have followed proper procedures before drilling into protected land. Morrison's voice was ice, no sympathy, just bureaucracy. You have until sunset to cease operations. Any water distributed after that is a federal crime. Understood? Tom understood. Understood he'd been outmaneuvered. Understood Samuel Wade had won. The officials left to inspect the site. Samuel stayed behind, smiling. Nothing personal, Tom. But someone has to think about the town's future. Can't depend on one man's charity forever. We need sustainable legal access. You're going to charge them, Tom said, quiet, furious. That's your plan. Shut me down. Get legal control. Then charge for water. I'm a businessman, yes, but fair prices, affordable. Better than depending on your pride and your mood swings. My pride? Tom laughed. Broken sound. You used your own daughter's near death to gather information. You befriended my son to spy on me. You filed false complaints to steal what I built. And you talk about my pride? Samuel's smile never wavered. I saved my daughter by knowing when to ask for help. You saved her by being too proud to share until forced. We're not the same, Tom. I build systems that last. You build monuments to yourself. He walked away. I left Tom standing there with those words cutting deep because part of them, the worst part, was true. This is the moment everything changes. Like this video if you're still watching. Share it if you want to see Tom make the hardest choice of his life. By noon, word had spread. The government was shutting down the water. People panicked. Some came to argue, some to beg, some to blame Tom for not making it legal from the start. Tom stood by the pump house and took it. Every accusation, every insult, every plea stood there like a man facing execution and let them rage. Because what could he say? That he'd tried to save them and it wasn't enough? That his pride had made him vulnerable to Samuel's schemes? That he'd broken sacred seals and now the price was coming due? Jacob watched from the porch. He'd 9 years old and seeing his father destroyed, seeing the savior turned villain. The hero revealed as flawed. Tom caught his son's eyes, saw disappointment there, not anger, just sad understanding that Papa wasn't who Jacob thought he was. That hurt worse than anything Samuel could do. The sun moved toward evening, deadline approaching. Tom made a decision. Not the proud decision, not the vengeful decision, the only decision left. He went to the tribal camp, found Broken Wing, told him everything. The government investigation, Samuel's scheming, the shutdown order. "What should I do?" Tom asked. First time in years he'd asked someone else for answers. "How do I fix this?" Broken Wing considered. Long silence. Finally, "You give them the choice you wish they'd given you." "What choice?" "Mercy without condition, forgiveness without debt. In the water shared freely even with those who wronged you. Wade will just take control, charge people, profit from my work." "Probably, but that's his sin, not yours. Your sin was pride. His is greed. The water judges all of us differently." Broken Wing stood. "The price I warned about? It's not punishment, Thomas, it's transformation. The cost of using sacred water is becoming someone worthy of it. Someone who gives without counting, shares without controlling, loves without condition. I don't know if I can be that person. Neither do I. But I know the man who let Samuel Wade win through legal tricks while children thirst. That man you definitely can't be. Not anymore." Tom rode back to his ranch. The sun was setting, red light across brown land, beautiful and harsh. The officials were waiting, ready to enforce the shutdown. In the crowd was there too, watching, waiting to see what Tom would do. Sarah and Jacob stood on the porch, his family, the people who mattered most, the ones he'd protected and neglected in equal measure. Tom dismounted, walked to the pump house, unlocked it, removed his locks and guards, opened it completely. "It's yours," Tom said to the crowd. "All of it. The pump, the system, the water. I'm transferring ownership to the town council, free. No strings, no contracts. Just a gift." Silence. Shocked silence. "You're... what?" Morrison looked confused. "Mr. Brennan, that doesn't resolve the legal... The legal issues are between you and the town now, not me. I'm done." Tom looked at Samuel Wade. "You win. You want control? You got it. But it's not mine to give you anymore. It belongs to everyone, including the Ute people, including your enemies. And including the people who called me crazy and the people who tried to burn my pump house and the people who spit at my son in school." Tom pulled out the tin cup, his tin cup, Jacob's tin cup, the symbol of everything, dipped it in the water barrel, held it up. "This cup was empty when my son almost died. I filled it with city water bought with my last dollars. Then I built all this," he gestured at the system, "so it would never be empty again. So Jacob would never thirst again. But you know what? The cup stayed empty anyway, because I filled it with pride instead of water, control instead of love, revenge instead of forgiveness." He walked to Samuel Wade, held out the cup. "My daughter," Samuel started. "Drink," Tom said. "It's yours. No charge, no conditions. Same as everyone else." Samuel looked at the cup, at Tom, and understanding dawned. This wasn't surrender. This was something else. Something that looked like defeat but felt like victory. Samuel took the cup, drank, handed it back. Tom turned to the crowd. "Anyone who wants water, take it. Anyone who wants to manage the system, I'll teach you. Anyone who wants to fight in court with the government, that's your choice. I'm done fighting. I'm done controlling. The water flows. That's enough." He walked to Sarah and Jacob, left the crowd behind, left the pump house, left the burden. "Papa?" Jacob looked confused. Did you just give away everything?" "No, son. I gave away the weight, the pride, the need to be right, the fear of being helpless." Tom knelt down. "I kept the only things that matter, you, your mama, the chance to be better." "But Mr. Wade," We'll probably find a way to profit. Yeah, that's who he is. But I won't become worse trying to stop him. That's who I am, or who I'm trying to be. Sarah was crying, not sad crying, something else. Thomas Brennan, after 14 years you finally surprised me. Good surprise? The best. That night Tom didn't sleep in the pump house, slept in his own bed, next to Sarah, no guards, no locks, no burden. He heard wagons come and go, people taking water, arguing about management, forming committees, fighting and cooperating and surviving, without him. It felt strange, wrong, empty, but also free. The government investigation took 3 months. In the end, they ruled the water could stay shared under joint management, town council and tribal council together. Samuel Wade tried to get himself appointed manager, lost the vote, and the town remembered whose daughter he'd nearly let die before Tom intervened. Samuel's bank suffered. People moved their money to a new cooperative. He eventually left town, went back east. Tom heard he became successful there, probably was. Men like Samuel always landed on their feet. The drought broke that spring. Rains came, the river returned. The underground spring kept flowing too. Broken Wing said the spirits were satisfied. The price had been paid, not in blood or suffering, but in transformation. A proud man made humble, a hoarder made generous, a fighter made forgiving. Tom's ranch recovered. He and Sarah worked it together now. Real partners. She had opinions. He listened. It was harder than working alone, but better. Jacob forgave him, slowly, over years. The boy grew up knowing his father's flaws and loving him anyway. And that's maybe the best gift a child can give. Tom kept the tin cup, put it on a shelf in the kitchen. Visitors always asked about it. He'd tell them the story, the short version, the drought, the water. The choice between revenge and mercy. He never mentioned that sometimes late at night when pride whispered temptations, he'd take down that cup and remember. Remember being alone in the pump house, playing king, crushing himself under the weight of control. Remember Sarah's words. That's not strength, that's loneliness. Remember the moment he gave it all away and felt for the first time in years, actually strong. The story ends here, but the lesson doesn't. If this story made you feel something, if it made you think about pride or forgiveness or the weight of trying to control everything, then share it. And someone in your life needs to hear it. Someone's carrying a burden they need to put down. Be the one who shows them they can. And leave a comment. Tell me, what would you have done in Tom's place? What burdens are you still carrying that you need to release? Thank you for listening. Until the next story, remember that mercy is stronger than revenge, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let go. Years later, when Tom was old and the town had grown around the shared water system into something prosperous and united, someone asked him if he regretted giving it all away. Tom thought about it. Really thought. No, he said finally. I regret the years I spent clutching it so tight I couldn't feel anything else. I regret the pride that made me alone. I regret hurting my family while trying to save them. But giving up control? That's not regret. That's the best thing I ever did because it turned out... Tom smiled, old and weathered and finally at peace. You can't really own water. You can't own rain or rivers or underground springs. They just flow. And when you stop trying to control them, when you just let them be what they are and share what they give, that's when you finally understand what having enough actually means. The person left. Tom sat on his porch with Sarah beside him and Jacob's children playing in the yard. The same yard where he'd once stood with empty buckets and full pride. The tin cup was in the kitchen, still on the shelf, still empty. But Tom's hands were full. And that, finally, was enough. The end. This story was created for audio listening, and if you enjoyed it, please like, share, and comment. Your support helps create more stories like this. Thank you for listening to the end.